Hi, Jeremy Morgan here, and I'm on the road in a hotel room, but I just decided that I had to make this video to show how the super prompt works. So I posted the super prompt in the thread in our school community, but I just kind of wanted to show really quick how it works and why it works. Now, let's take a look at, this is the basic ChatGPT interface, right? So we've all used this before, and this super prompt works on ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, whatever you want it to work on. Really doesn't matter. But if we want to do a prompt, something like write an article about how to prevent heartworm with dogs, right? This is a pretty simple, pretty straightforward prompt. We kick this in, it's going to kick out something, right? But it may not be exactly what we want, and we might have to modify it. Now, I stress this a lot when I'm talking to people about generating content with ChatGPT. You never want to just do this, right? You never want to just put in, write an article about this, copy and paste, throw it on your blog. Worst thing you can do. However, you can use ChatGPT to outline articles, give you ideas, things like that. So consider this a starting point. But anyway, we have an article here, how to prevent heartworm in dogs, understanding heartworm disease, etc. Not a bad result, but can we make this better? Well, my argument is with the super prompt that you can basically make any prompt better. Now, what this is it's using a refinement model, which is just a fancy way of saying, we're going to take this prompt, write an article about how to prevent heartworm with dogs, and we're going to refine it. We're going to ask the LLM, hey, what things am I missing? What kind of things should I add to this prompt to make it a better prompt? And so that's the entire idea of the super prompt. It's very simple. Let's check out what the super prompt is. Now, I've got a copy of it here and drag it over, and let's just kind of take a look at it. It says, act as an expert prompt engineer with extensive experience optimizing AI prompts for clarity, blah, blah, blah. What it's going to do is it's going to use sequential reasoning, contextual awareness, and iterative refinement. So these are all just fancy ways of saying it's going to look at your prompt, it's going to think about ways to improve it, it's going to try a few things, it's going to kick it back, and then based on these steps and referencing principles such as defining clear objectives, using specific language, etc. These are basic prompt engineering techniques. At the very end, you can say, here is the prompt. So what we're going to do is we're just going to ask ChatGPT, hey, take the prompt that I just used and make it way better. So we'll start this over again. And I'm going to dump in the super prompt text. Now, this is the text that I put in a thread here on our school community. And we have all this expert, etc. Here's the prompt. And for the prompt, I'm going to say, write an article about preventing heartworm in dogs. Now, you're going to watch, this thing's going to kind of churn through, and it's probably going to come back and ask you a question. In fact, we asked it to do that in the prompt. And we do. We have clarifying questions here. Now, what this is doing is it's basically taking your prompt and saying, instead of this generic, abstract idea, let's narrow it down. Let's needle it down. And this is very important for creating great content. So we have a set of clarifying questions here. Target audience. Who is this article intended for? Pet owners, veterinary professionals, general public? I'm going to say pet owners. So I'll just put one, pet owners, and then hold Shift and Enter. That way, because when you press Enter, it sends it back to ChatGPT. We want to hit Shift Enter so that we can answer all these questions, send them all back in a bunch. Now, tone and style. Should the tone be formal, informative, friendly, or something else? This is something that the original prompt doesn't cover. The original prompt is just give me an article. Could be an article that's really stodgy and boring and, oh, this is what we do. Or it could be something that's like, hey, super salesy, whatever you want it to be, this is where you set it. So for tone and style, I'm going to say friendly, right? I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not a super expert. I just want to tell pet owners how they can help prevent heartworm in their dogs. So we're going to say friendly, yet knowledgeable. Number 3, content depth. Are you looking for a high-level overview or an in-depth guide, possibly with scientific details? Well, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a veterinarian. I don't really want to put out scientific details out there without knowing what they are and whether or not they're true, right? So I'm going to say high-level overview. And again, this is not something you would get with the original prompt. Now, number 4. Format or structure. Should the article include specific sections such as introduction, common myths, signs of heartworm, prevention methods, or others? Actually, all of those are great suggestions. So I will say, yes, include introduction. And let's say, what is heartworm in plain English? Common myths. Signs of heartworm, that sounds good. And prevention methods. So here we're able to get very specific with this and very specific with what we want. Length. Do you have a preferred length? Short blog post, comprehensive article. I'm going to say comprehensive article. Now, there may be a second set of questions. You hear this motorcycle. This is part of working and recording these things on the road, right? So let's go ahead and send it. There might be another set of questions, there may not, but let's see what it comes up with. And as you can see, it takes a little while, right? So it's actually thinking. It's not thinking like a human being, but it's thinking in the terms of an LLM. With this additional context, I'll refine the prompt to align with the specified structure and tone, etc. Here's a refined prompt. And what it does is it shows us the refined prompt copy. We're going to use this right here to generate our article on the next iteration. However, it also explains it. This refined prompt offers sequential reasoning. Each section follows logically to guide the AI in structuring a complete informative article. It includes contextual awareness, so the language is tailored for pet owners with simplified explanations and myth busting, and it uses iterative refinement, which is just a fancy word for changing details and going through and seeing how those details work and changing them based on what the LLM finds is best. And so the wording is clear, concise, and audience-specific. This prompt should provide a well-rounded, high-quality response that meets your expectations. So let's find out if it does. We've copied it. I'm going to dump it in here, hit enter. And now we have a completely different article. This one is more tailored and more detailed to exactly what we want. We have our introduction. What is heartworm? Maybe we have no idea what heartworm is, right? It's a disease, potentially fatal condition for dogs, but the good news is it's entirely preventable. Responsible pet ownership, etc. Then it says, what is heartworm? Well, it's a parasitic worm transmitted by mosquitoes that can live inside a dog's heart, lungs, and blood vessels. Great. And then we say common myths about heartworm. Heartworm only affects dogs in warm climates, etc. Goes into this. Then it says signs of heartworm, persistent cough, fatigue, and lethargy, etc. And as you can see, this is a far more high-quality result than we would have gotten otherwise, just from taking 2 minutes, maybe less than 2 minutes, from putting that super prompt in there. So this is why I put the super prompt up in the community for people to use, but I wanted to be a little bit more clear about how it actually works so that you can use it for your own stuff. Copy and paste it, save it in the text file, save it in the document, and the next time you go to prompt for something and you want to ask for content or outlining content, put that in there, and that super prompt will come back and ask you questions, and it will refine it, and it will give you something that's a little bit more detailed. So we could have come up with this prompt on our own. However, we didn't have to, right? So when you get really good at prompt engineering, you'll definitely have methods and things that you do and things that you try, and you'll have your own ways of doing things, but this is just a great, really quick way to take your prompt and improve it so you can get more detailed results. You know, the old saying is garbage in, garbage out. The better the input, the better the output is definitely true with LLMs, large language models like ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini and all the whole list of 10 million of them. The better input that you can give it, the more specific you can give it of instructions, the better it will be. Thank you for watching, and thank you for joining my community.